Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Strong Witness. You see, I got my Strong Witness shirt on, which is every week. But you know what? Welcome back this time. And once again, as always, every week, I'm excited about what we have to share and the guests that are on. And this week's guest, I'm going to get to her in one moment, but I want to remind everybody about Strong Witness. This is what we do. We are a storytelling community, a storytelling platform. We come on here to share stories that bring communities together. We share stories of overcoming difficult situations. We share stories to connect, to heal, to thrive, and to revive. And when we share these stories, we're sharing about, just an idea real quick of storytelling. I know we talked about it before, but you start a story at the pain point, right? You start a story there, and then you take somebody through the transition, and then you tell them how you made it through. So that's exactly what we do when it comes time for storytelling. Make sure you start it at the pain point, take somebody through the transition, and then you share about how you overcame and you went through. So I'm just grateful for just the idea of stories. And again, I say it every time. I want you to think about right now, before we jump on with our guest, how many stories you told today to somebody else. I don't care if it was, oh, how's your day? Well, let me tell you about how my day went, or let me tell you about what I'm working on, right? So even from the lightest stories to even the more heavier stories, how many stories have you told and connected with somebody else with today, right? And then if we back up, how many stories did you hear today? Stories don't always have to be heavy. I know a lot of times on here, we got some heavy stories now. If you want to hear a heavy story, we've come with some bangers, right? But at the same time, how many stories have you heard today that connected you with somebody else, that made you feel connected to community, that made you want to ask them more of what's going on? So we thank you for this space, even coming in to listen. And remember, Strong Witness story sessions, this is not to replace therapy. Therapy is extremely important. I heard therapists are wonderful people. I heard they're great people. I heard everybody should be a friend with a therapist. Get to know your therapist, get a therapist. But these storytelling sessions are not to replace therapy, but to be a chance to connect and heal with one another. So today I am excited. You guys know, let me ask y'all this question, right? Do you know, you go on social media and you follow somebody on social media, but you really don't know that person, but in your mind it's like your friends, and because you laugh and you follow the things and you check their stuff and you laugh at them. So this is how I feel about the guest today, Dr. Shamika. I've been following. If you have Instagram, you need to certainly follow her on Instagram. You need to follow her on Facebook. You need to follow her on YouTube. I believe all of her handles are Shamika Dean. But like, this is a person who I follow and I'm like, she's hilarious. So you got to make sure that you connect with her. So I'm just going to make sure that I'll pull her up into the stream and we can get going. Hey, Dr. Dean.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, can I call you? I should have asked you this a minute ago, so I apologize. You want me to call you Dr. Shamika or call you Dr. Dean?
Dr. Shamika is fine.
Hey, Dr. Dean. Okay, all right. So I'll call you Shamika. Okay. And so yeah, I was just sharing with the folks, like, man, it's like when I feel like I followed you this year, but it's kind of person, oh man, I feel like I know I'm just gonna laugh at our videos and follow, and you say the funniest things. I don't know how you do it. I gotta learn how to do the reels myself. But what's your social media handle and everything so people can find you?
It's Dr. Shamika Dean on Instagram, and everything else is Shamika Dean.
Okay. All right. Got it. And I'm gonna make sure I tag you in this as well. So before we get started with the story, tell everybody just what you do now. I know you're gonna take us through the story until how you got there, but who are you and what do you do now?
So I am a thought leader, and I'm a transformational teacher. I teach my clients, so I teach service-based entrepreneurs. I teach them how to market like a mogul, and so that they can make six figures in their business and then get on the trajectory to making seven figures. The reason why I teach how marketing is different for me is because I married marketing with mental health or mindset. whichever you want to say, because I believe that all things are mindset. It's all mental health, right? Because if your mind ain't right, your money gonna be funny. That's just the reality, right? So even as you're marketing, it's all mental, because you have to believe that what you have is valuable. You have to believe that it's worth people investing in it. You have to believe that, when you put it out there, that people are going to pay you and pay you your price. So it's all mental. And I think that was what I noticed in the marketing industry that was missing, that everyone was getting strategies, the 1, 2, 3s. And I'm just like, these people's mentality is what needs to be changed. It's not their program. It's not that they're not posting enough. It's really that their mindset is not where it needs to be. So let's deal with that. And so I noticed that as I unlocked those broken belief systems, because belief systems become birthing systems, right? Mm-hmm. And so as I helped them to break through the broken belief systems, the marketing strategies worked with ease. So they were making 5 figures in 3 weeks, One thing, okay. Yeah. So it was, that's what I said. That's what I said. My client came back, she was just like, oh, I just made $13,000. I was like, wait, say what now? Right. And so how do I, duplicate that process? How do I duplicate it and replicate it so that the results can be replicated? And I understood that part of it. And I use that in my strategies when I'm teaching marketing, when I'm working with my clients, and their results are astronomical because we did the work that really matters.
Yeah, I think I was telling you, and hopefully one of my friends, the church member, comes on. She does a Facebook Live called Polished News Network, and she interviews business owners. And I'll have to tell her that, make sure that she connects with you. I tagged you in the video too, so you can see it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to make sure it's so that I can share it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Shamika Dean on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I'm getting some feedback too. I don't know if it's your computer. On Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, Dr. Shamika Dean. So we got that part down. And so I am going to move out the way, and then I'm going to let you flow with your story. And I called this one, I thought I put the title in there, but you know what? I wrote it and I didn't save it because that's how I do. You know how I do it, everybody. But I called this one, basically the story of an overcomer. And Dr. Dean's going to share her story from her teenage years up into where she's at now. And even right before we got on, I'm going to check back with everybody when we get done. I told her, I was like, man, you sound like a therapist, like before, because we always recruiting over here at LCS Counseling. I mean, you do need a Texas license, but say less. We can help you get that. But you sound like a therapist, but I'm gonna move out the way and I'm gonna let you share and go from there.
All right, I think I'm good now. So first and foremost, I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. I do consider it a privilege, and an honor to share anyone's platform, to share my story. I believe that one of the things I teach my clients is that if you have a story to tell, you have a product to sell, right? But before I even knew anything about all of that, I had my own stories, my own journey of, I guess, redemption or, being the underdog at one point in my life. And so I wanted to share the story with you all about, my journey, and from being pregnant at 14 to now owning a multi-6-figure company. That is my tagline. That is the headline of my story. And it's so important for me to share the story because I think that oftentimes we see people where they are and don't understand where they come from. And if we're unable to find ourselves in their story, then we think that it's unbelievable. And so I shared with my audience the other day that sometimes we are the evidence that people need to see to believe it's possible for them. I'm going to say that again because I want you guys to catch this. Sometimes we are the evidence that people need to see to believe that it is possible for them. And so when I share my story, I just want to be the evidence for people that are having a hard time believing that God can do for them what he's done for the other person. And so I always share where I come from. I come from a small town. Population was 1,500. when I was there. We're now up to a whopping 4,100 people. Okay. But there was a population of only 1,500 when I was raised there. I remember like it was yesterday, the moment we went into the health department, the health department, and the pregnancy test came back, and the nurse, before they revealed that I was pregnant, they asked my mom, to step out of the room, and they told me that if I didn't want her to know, then I didn't have to tell her. And I just remember in that moment, when my mom did come back into the room and they told her that, that I was pregnant, I just remember the look of disappointment in her eyes. How many of you have disappointed someone that you love, that you look up to, that you admire? And that look of disappointment cuts sharper than a knife, right? It cuts sharper than that two-edged sword. And she didn't say anything. She was just silent, but it was the look in her eyes that was so devastating to me. And I knew that I had disappointed the person that I always wanted to make so proud. And so I set out on, this journey to remove that moment of disappointment, to remove that pain that I had caused my mom. And so I set out to do things in my life that would kind of erase, that moment of embarrassment or disappointment that I created for her. But then I remember going to school and my favorite teacher telling me that I had messed up, that I had ruined my life. And I remember getting in a relationship, getting in a relationship. If you know anything about being a teen mom, right? I was 14, but I gave birth at 15. But if you know anything about being a teen mom, you are not on the list of good girls for the good guys, right? You are the girl that the parents say, stay away from her. She's fast, or, she's not good for you. She's going to ruin your life. She already has a baby. So you get all of these different labels thrown on you that are created to dilute your value. And so before I go into the rest of the story, I think that someone needs to hear this. This is a quote that God gave me. And the quote is, your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. So I want to say that again before I jump into the rest of the story. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. I wrote that quote. God gave me that quote when I was going through another devastating time in my life where I questioned my very value. I questioned my existence because of labels that had been placed on me because of some hardships that I had experienced in my life. And so that was what God gave me to really help me to understand that my value was never placed in a label someone placed on me, or in any of the mistakes or shortcomings that I made in my life. And so again, at the age of 15, I was a mom, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to provide for this child, right? Is my life really over? Because that's what was prophesied over my life. That's what was spoken over my life. And then again, when I get into this relationship, and the guy that I'm involved with, I have a baby. So I think that, that he's the prize, right? Because of the label that had been placed on me. I thought that he was the prize. And this guy said to me that, he said that you'll never be nothing but a ghetto baby mama. Those were his words. No man will ever marry you. You'll never be nothing but a ghetto baby mama, right? And so I had that label that was placed on my life. I had the disappointment in my mother's eyes, and I had the teacher that I admired that told me that I had ruined my life, and I had all of the odds stacked against me. I'm from a small town where we didn't even have a McDonald's, right? No Taco Bell, no Walmart, population 1,500. And here I am with a child at the age of 15, not knowing what I was going to do, how I was going to take care of this child. But I knew that there was something on the inside of me that would not allow me to wallow in pity, that pushed me to stand up and operate in a position of power. And the mere fact that people were saying all these things about me, I went on this pursuit, this endless pursuit of trying to prove people wrong, right? I wanted to prove these people wrong. I wanted to prove my mom, wrong, that she didn't have to be disappointed in me. I wanted to prove my ex wrong about me only being a ghetto baby mama. I wanted to prove to that teacher wrong about her statement saying that I had ruined my life. Basically, and, in her words, it was over. That was the end of life for me. There was no success that was coming from me, because statistically, I shouldn't be where I am today, statistically. But here's the thing that I realized was that whenever you are trying to prove someone wrong, it's evidence that you believe what they said. I'm going to say that again because I really want you guys to understand this. So many times we get caught in this cycle of trying to prove people wrong that we don't realize that we've come into an alignment, into agreement with what they said about us. And so again, when you find yourself trying to prove someone wrong, it's evident that you believed what they said. And so because I believed what they said, that I had ruined my life, that I would never be nothing but a ghetto baby mama, that I was basically a disappointment, I went on this journey of trying to prove them wrong. And what happened is, because I came into agreement with it, I was literally activating the things that they said. And so those things were happening in my life. I was going nowhere fast. My life began to go on this downward spiral. I attracted guys that didn't value me, that didn't see any more value in me than me in the sheets, right? I couldn't get a decent job. I was accepting and settling for whatever came my way, because I truly have begun to believe that I was a disappointment, and that was the end of life for me. And so I was constantly doing this, and I kept on falling into this cycle of toxicity, these cycles of trials that I just simply couldn't seem to get out of, until I remember praying, because I found myself in a situation that I did not want to be in. And I remember praying, and I was asking God, why is this happening? Why do I keep finding myself in the same position? And he gave me this statement, and I stand on it till this day. He said, because what you focus on is what you give power to. I'm going to say it again because I really, really want you guys to hear this. Said, what you focus on is what you give power to. And because I focused so much on what they said instead of who he said I was, I became what they said. So that is when I understood that I needed to shift my focus on simply proving myself right, on simply believing the truth about who I am, and that I was not the mistakes or some of the bad choices that I made, but that was a part of my journey. And so I shifted my focus again from trying to prove them wrong, and I focused on simply proving myself right, because I knew internally that there was something greater in me, right? But if I kept focusing on what I didn't want and who I didn't want to become, I was giving too much power to it, and I was activating it. Because when you come into agreement with something, you activate it and you give it the power to happen. You give it the power to manifest in your life. And so what am I saying to you is that some of you all are in the cycle that you're in, and you're unable to come out of what you're in because you're focusing on the thing that you don't want. You're focusing on trying to prove people wrong, and you've given them a position of authority in your life that they should not have. And so you've given their word more authority than the word of God and who God says you are. And so that is why you continuously see yourself in that cycle. So some of you need to, number one, I'm going to give you a quick strategy really quickly. Some of you have to do what I did. I had to revisit to reveal, because I couldn't understand initially why I kept going in this cycle. I didn't know that I had come into agreement and given that authority to manifest in my life. I didn't realize that's what was happening until God showed me. He said, what you focus on is what you give power to. But I had to revisit. I had to go back to that place and those things that were spoken over my life, I had to get to that moment so that I can understand, so that the root of what it was that kept taking place and kept growing in my life could be revealed. Right. And it was that moment of disappointment, that moment when I felt like I had failed. Right. My identity became the failure became my identity in that moment. And so I had to go back and revisit that thing. So often we think that because we moved forward, that we moved on. And we haven't. We've literally just taken steps in another direction, but we literally haven't moved on from that place of pain. So we'll stay in what is called survival mode, and we think that because we survived it, that that we've healed, and we simply have not survived. We haven't healed. We're just fighting. You're just fighting, and fighting wears you out. It makes you tired, and eventually you begin to sink. Right. But again, the first step is to reveal the root. You got to reveal the root of the seed that was planted when it was planted. The next thing is recognize the reality, right? The reality is that, okay, yes, I was a teen mom, but the truth of the matter is that did not mean that I was not a woman of value. It did not mean that I was no longer a woman of worth, right? And then after you recognize the reality, now you have to renew. You have to renew your mind. And oftentimes the reason why we can't renew our mind is because we keep listening to old things. We keep hanging around the same people. We're not doing anything new, because to renew something, you need another set of information, because information, it informs you of something. And then it begins to formate something in your mind. And so you need to be exposed to new information so that you can expand in your mind. You need to be exposed to the truth so that you can put out the lies that you have now become to believe. And then the last thing is that now you get a chance to rewrite the story, right? Because you don't have to be a statistic. You can choose to be a statistic. But one thing about it is, when I recognized the reality and I renewed my mind, I was able to rewrite the story. I don't have to be a statistic according to what they say. I defy statistics. I defeat statistics. I destroy statistics, because I am who I choose to be. I am who I choose to be. I don't have to be what happened to me. I don't have to be the mistakes that I've made. I simply choose to rewrite the story. If you don't like what the chapter you're in, just know that you have an opportunity to rewrite that story, because you can make different decisions. You can choose and you can be different, right? And so again, the first step that I had to go through was revisit to reveal. Oftentimes we don't want to revisit it because we feel like it's too painful, or we don't want to go through it again. But if you don't revisit it and reveal the root, you will not be able to uproot it and destroy it. You cannot destroy something that you don't really understand is there. You don't understand why these things are happening. And so that's why revisiting is so important. And then recognizing the reality, right? Those are things. You don't have to dismiss the facts about what you did or the mistakes that you made, but the facts don't have any bearing on the truth, because it's the truth that sets us free. And the truth is, at the end of the day, I was still predestined for greatness, and my greatness didn't die because of the mistakes that I made, right? And my child is not a mistake to begin with. She taught me what it meant to love unconditionally. She taught me how to persevere even when it was painful. She taught me how to lead, because I had to become a leader at the age of 15, right? She taught me how to navigate storms. She taught me that even when I'm sinking or feel like I'm sinking, I can still stand, because I had something to live for that was greater than myself, right? And so that was the reality. And then I had to renew my mind, because the old thing wasn't working anymore. The way that I used to think and used to believe, it wasn't working anymore. I needed new information so that I can then rewrite. I would be able to rewrite the story. And so here's the thing: the original story and the original plan that God had for my life, it was never removed from the book. That chapter was never removed, right? But I had to rewrite the story, because I had began to allow someone else to become the author and the finisher of my faith. I had allowed other people's belief systems and the labels they had placed on me to become my identity. So then I had to rewrite it according to the original plan that was already predestined for my life. So I say that to you that where you are, no matter what your story is, your story may not be that you were a teen mother. Your story may be completely different, but the strategy is still the same. Your story may be completely different, but the reality is that you can still rise from it. The reality is that it did not have to end there, that there is still so much greater that you can do, and that lays waiting for you. So that is my story. I hope that it has been inspirational to you all. I hope that it really encouraged you, inspired you to know that you still have so much more to do, and there's so much greater in you, and that God wants to do for you.
Ooh, that was good. I'm tearing up the keys. I'm trying to get these points in. Man, Dr. Dane, that was amazing.
Thank
you know what I mean?
you.
Like even the steps, and before we came on and on the live, and I'm glad you said it at the end. Everybody can identify with being a teenage mother, but we can identify with words being put on us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And what we talked about before we came on the live is there's so many, we can all name, first of all, we can all identify that with that period. Things that we recall, things said to us, things that still kind of sting, things that may not sting, but we'll never forget. And then we all know some people who are stuck because of what somebody else said or did, and they could not get over it. But you gave us some in the midst of sharing your story. And that's what we talked about before we jumped on. I say every time I say every week, we pray before we get started. And that was my prayer. Like, you're gonna be a blessing to everybody. But you gave me tips of, we visit to reveal, like go back to see what was really in there. A lot of times too, what people, how people treat us, what they say about us says more about them than us. And so many times people put their stuff on us, which doesn't have anything to do with us. So kind of like go back to revisit. Is that about me? Is it about them? Then recognize the reality. Like, listen, two things can be true at the same time. We say that so much in the therapist's office, right? Well, I say it a lot to people. You can be a teen mom and still have value. Like one doesn't cancel out the other.
Out the other. Nope.
Right. And then be able to rewrite the story. I love what you said. Listen, where God has me going, that wasn't erased.
It was not erased. It still stands. Exactly. It still stands. But I had to choose to focus on that and change, my belief system, because again, when you feel like you have to prove somebody wrong, that's the evidence that you believe what they said. I tell people that all the time when people want to argue about, the Bible being true or a lie or whatever the case. I said, listen, I believe that the truth will always stand. And here we are 2,000 years later, and it is still standing. So I don't have to prove to you, what's real. I don't have to, because the truth stands. It doesn't matter. It always outlasts, a lie. And that's just what I truly believe. And so the only time people try to prove something to not be true is when there is truth to it. Right. There's something true about it. And so you're trying to prove to someone else, oh, that's a lie. That's a lie. So, don't try to focus on proving anyone wrong. Just stand and prove yourself right, because you're not responsible for, I say this all the time, you are not responsible for people's perception. You're only responsible for your reality.
That's good.
That's it. You're only responsible for your reality, because when the doors close, when you close the curtains at night, when you go behind closed doors, the reality. And that's all you can be responsible for. So you have to release yourself from the responsibility of people's reactions, their responses, and how they may respond to you or may react. You have to release yourself from the responsibility of that, because you're carrying a weight that you were not designed to carry.
Yeah. And that's a great point. And that's one of the things that stood out too when I saw your original post where you shared a little bit of your story. Pregnant at 14, baby at 15, and then these words that were spoken over you. It's just the idea that when this quote right here, when you find yourself trying to prove someone wrong, it's evident that you believed what they said in the first place.
Absolutely.
And that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow, but it's true. Right? It's true. There's so much truth to it that if I got to go out like, no, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going down that road, then I believed it, because now I took the bait, so to speak.
Exactly. Like I give people a simple analogy. I said, If I say to you, my name is Shamika, and you say, no, it's not, your name is Keisha, am I going to argue with that? Am I supposed to argue with that? I mean, okay, like if you believe 2 + 2 is 5, that's fine, But there's no need to argue with that because I know the truth. Why would I give energy to something that I know is not true? Right? But if I'm trying to argue with you, no, my name is Shamika. Let me show you. Why do I have to prove that to you when I already know it?
Yeah, that was a good point. You just drove that right home. Like, now I'm not about to argue with somebody. My name is Keisha. If clearly it's Latoya, you can call me Latoya. You can call me Latoya, but it's
the name not Keisha. It's not. So, and that's kind of how I look at it. It's just the simple things, but it's just true. Like, I don't have to argue about something when I already know what the truth is.
Yeah, and I said this before, and I think she's still on here. I saw her on here. My friend Alicia. We go to church together. She's the one who has that Polished News Network. So Doc, I'm definitely gonna, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna maybe try to I'll try to connect you to. I don't know if I just give her your email or something, but I think it'd be dope if you can go on there and just talk about your business specifically. I do want you to talk about it a little bit more now for those that missed it. But because what's one thing that's great too, I told everybody to make sure you follow Dr. Shamika on all the social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, especially. Her Instagram videos are hilarious. But the other part too is that when she sent me, when I was like, listen, man, I need a photo for the social media. Like, I got her one page, like for her speaking engagements. I got her media kit. I got her photo, and everything is awesome. And I think that stuff alone would be something awesome to talk about. Not that I can't, it's her Polished News Network, because that's her platform. But I'm just thinking that would be amazing to talk about how to even create those things, and then talking about business, just so that people are ready when you're ready to go out and speak, and you're ready to go out. You have that stuff set, right? So to stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. Like, you was ready. That's right. Like, bam. Like, I was like, this is amazing.
I always prepare. This is what I said, because my quote is, belief systems become birthing systems. And when you believe, you become, right? So before I became a speaker, before I became an author, before I became, all these things, I became that internally. So I always ask God, if someone were to offer me an opportunity, what would I need to present to them?
Oh, that's
right. Good. I'm not waiting for the opportunity. But because I'm prepared, I create opportunity. Does that make sense? So I'm not waiting for the opportunity, but because I'm prepared, I create opportunity.
That's real good.
See, the doors that we are praying for are not open because we don't prepare for them, because we don't really believe that they're going to open. So here's the thing. Here's a simple analogy, right? If I believe that I'm going on a trip, I'm going to go pack my bags. My bags are packed, right? Because I know the plane is getting ready to take off and I don't want to miss flight. So if you truly believe that you are called to be a multi-millionaire, billionaire, if you believe that you are called to be an international speaker, then why are you not preparing? Why are you not going live on social media? Why are you not creating pre-recorded videos? Right? If you said that you believe that you're a best-selling author, why haven't you written a paragraph? Right? You say, well, I don't know what to write. You write 20 statuses a week on Facebook. That's at least a page.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because if you believe that you are a dancer, you dance. No one has to tell you to dance. If you are a writer, you write. No one has to tell you to write. I'm a business owner. No one has to tell me to do business.
That's
right.
True. Yeah.
and it's not like I'm not doing business to get paid. I'm doing business because I am a business owner, and that is what I do. Right. I'm a writer. So I just bought a digital journal because I had so many journals that my husband's like, you're going to have to do something. So I have boxes and boxes of journals that I use, but I always tell people, if you believe what God says, then you become what he says. You become what you believe. So I don't wait for the opportunity. I'm not waiting for a company to reach out to me for me to have my media kit, my speakers, my speaker sheet. I'm not waiting. I have proposals written right now so that all I need to do is plug the amount in when they get ready to pay me.
I like that. I got them ready
Yeah.
to plug the amount in.
They're
Listen, let me
already
run with
written.
this one. I'm not waiting for the opportunity because I'm prepared to create the opportunity. And so, yeah, I'm gonna connect you with Alicia. I'm gonna send her your email if that's okay, or at least tell her to
Yes.
maybe look on Instagram and maybe start talking to you there. So that's how I did it. That's how I started talking. To start talking to you on
Yeah.
Instagram. But I think it'd be awesome to even have you. Like, again, her platform is called, for everybody who doesn't know, it's called Polish News Network, and it's
Okay.
on Facebook Live on Mondays and Fridays at 8 Central. So make sure you check that out as well. But also, Dr. Dean, when I was reading over, because she is ready and she stays ready, I was reading over her media kit. And Dr. Dean, I want you to talk about, you said you were on Steve Harvey's show, and you
Mm-hmm.
talked about being fired, which changed the trajectory of your career. Is that right?
Yes.
And set
Yes.
you on the platform where you're at now. So tell everybody, because sometimes we think about being fired the most, which it is. I've been fired once, at least once.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow,
Oh,
right? But I want
yes.
you to talk about that moment and how it switched up for you too. That's a part of your larger story as
Absolutely.
well.
So I remember it like it was yesterday, you know. I walked into the office, I was excited because it was time for me to go in and get my annual raise. I can still remember the smell of the cheap coffee, you know, permeating the air or the atmosphere as I walked up the stairs. And I'm not a morning person, but that morning, honey, I was chipper. I was excited because I was just like, I'm about to get this raise and we're about to move on up like the Jeffersons. So I went into the office and my manager, she said, hey, we're going to do your review down in the executive wing. Because I don't want us to, you know, to be disturbed. So I'm like, oh, okay, not the executive wing. I'm excited, right? Because the last time I was called into the executive wing unexpectedly, I got promoted to a new position that I didn't even have to interview for. So I was like, God is doing the darn thing, right? And so I get there, walk around, the HR director is in the office. We go in, sit down, and they're going through my review. Everything sounds good. So we get to, except for like one spot, that they were saying, like, because I was in a management position, that I was using too much of my PTO. And so they did the review. And to keep my current position, I would have to be rated a 3.0. They rated me a 2.98. So I'm knowing mouse dropped right then, right? So 2.98 is what they rated me. And they said, normally we will put you on probation so that you can keep your job, basically. They said, but we've decided that this will be your last day. We're going to terminate you. So I sat there and this was my response. I said, I've been waiting on this day. Now, I know you all are probably like, what? I thought you were excited. I was, but here's the thing. 2 years prior to that, God had told me to quit that job. I was sitting at my desk. He told me it's time to go. I thought he meant go home for the day. So I asked the manager, hey, got to go home for the day. Went home. I'm going home. I was like, okay, God, there's nothing going on here, you know. So I thought maybe he was trying to get me home. Maybe someone was going to try to break into our home or something. I don't know. Go back to work the next day. He says it again as I'm sitting at the desk. So at this time, I still didn't know he meant leave the job. And so I said, I can't leave 2 days in a row. I just left. I don't want to lie to these people. What am I going to tell her? He said, it's time for you to leave. And so I sat there. And of course, like we all do, I didn't have a plan B. But when you have his plan A, you don't need a plan B. I now know that. But I didn't have that kind of faith then. I didn't have that kind of faith. I was actually newly licensed in ministry. I was a newbie. But anyway, I ended up leaving, getting fired. I applied for like 100 jobs. Not only had I just gotten fired, but my husband had just gotten out of the military. He didn't have a job. So we were both unemployed, didn't know where our next dime was going to come from. It was bad. We were pulling the carpets up in our vehicles looking for change so that we could put enough gas in the car to make it to the grocery store to buy a bag of rice so that we could feed our children. and my husband had been going fishing in the river so that we could eat. So we ate fish so much that I don't think I ate fish for years after we got back where we needed to be. But it was bad. We had 3 kids. We have 3 children, bills, no money in the bank, no savings. Neither one of us had a job, nothing. We had nothing. And I was at home and I've been praying, and I was just like, God, I don't understand why no one will hire me. I have plenty of experience. I didn't do anything, to get fired. It's in my unemployment record that they fired me at no fault of my own. So a friend of mine invited me to a Bible study. There was an apostle out of town, from out of town. I went to this home Bible study, which I'd never done this before. And so as he was getting ready to open up Bible study, he stopped, but he kept staring at me. And so he stopped and he said, I have a word that I want to release to you. He said, I'm trying to move forward, but I can't. He said, God says you've been trying to find a job. You've applied for many jobs and no one is contacting you. He said, that is because you're supposed to build your own company. Now, mind you, I was new to Christ, heard about prophecy, but I was just like, this man is a lie, right? That's what I was thinking. Went home, told my husband. Then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to pray about it. And it was definitely confirmed. But however, I didn't have anything. I didn't have any skills, didn't have any products. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And that is when he told me to start telling my story. And that is why I know now that if you have a story to tell, you have a product to sell. And so the story that he wanted me to share publicly was something that I was embarrassed about at the time. And that story was that my husband and I had divorced and we had remarried. God restored our marriage after divorce. So we've now been married. It'll be 16 years in September. So that was the story. And I began to tell that story to people. That story, when I told it, it was a Facebook post. And so many people wanted to know more about it. So I just started sharing about it. And I started getting paid speaking engagements. I then created a coaching course, a coaching program. That coaching program turned into a book that is an international selling book that's still selling today, and I don't even promote it. And from there, I started relationship coaching. I was relationship coaching. The relationship coaching turned into purpose coaching because I realized as I was coaching women that they wanted marriage because they were finding their identity in who they were married to. They were validating themselves. So their marriages became their idol. And their husband, became their identity. And so God showed me that they didn't know who they were in their purpose, and it was important. So I started purpose coaching, and purpose turned into profit. They wanted to know, well, how can I turn my purpose into profit? And so just that journey of going through that process, everything became a domino effect. And from profit strategist, I understood what I was really good at, and that is marketing. And I market with mindset. And that is why I am here today. And I have done that and built a multi-6-figure business doing it.
Oh, that's good. Now you're gonna have us all jumping on telling stories. Listen, if you got a story and you want to turn into a 6-figure business, email me. I'm gonna give you the space to share your story, but Dr. Shamika gonna teach you how to profit it and grow your business. That is awesome. And we're not gonna go into it today, but I heard about 2-3 more stories. You can tell. But
okay.
Yeah, but that's and that's what I'm talking about. And that's exactly why I say to everybody, we're all made of stories. You know what I mean? And that need to be told to help somebody else. Even the part where you talked about your husband, you were married, got divorced, got remarried. That's a story in itself for people who are going through difficult times with their spouse.
Whole story, okay?
Yeah, or having a family and having to fish in the river to get the food. And I get it. I get not wanting to eat fish,
anything that looked like fish, smelled like fish, sounded like fish, keep it, right?
Right. But even that story of struggle, connect with. And that's why, man, I love how God moved. That's what we talked about. You're gonna help so many people with your story. And I didn't even know you were gonna say those other parts of it. To go off. Let's see here. Hey, Catherine. She said, I was just saying today I want to write a book and start at the age of 14. That's awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, this
Wow.
is
Yeah,
definitely an
it's
inspiration. Go ahead.
powerful.
Go ahead, Doc.
Stories are, I think the stories are really what lead us to success, because we connect with the people, get to connect with the reality of us. And I always say that relationships, that the revenue is in the relationships you build with people. And I built my business on building those relationships by sharing my story and really being transparent about what I've gone through. As an influencer, as a leader, I still operate in transparency because I need people to know that I didn't wake up like this. I didn't start at the top. I started where so many others started, at that place of struggle. I just didn't stay there. I didn't allow that to become where I stayed. I again chose to rewrite the story, and I believe that opposition is simply opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is opportunity.
Opposition is opportunity, because so many times we see it's like we opposition or words people speak over us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see it as we hit that wall and don't go any further. But
right.
it's opportunity.
It's opportunity. So I always tell people, because I did a reel about this as well, and I said, when something is going on in your life, perspective is power, right? And so when something happens in your life, your perspective is going to determine. Mm-hmm. The promise is going to determine the process. So you can operate, when you look at that situation, you can look at it you can take the position of power, or you can take the position of pity. There's only two options, right? And so if you take the position of power, then you have the ammunition to go through the process so that you can get to the promise. And so, but if you look at it and you say, man, why is this happening to me? Every time you turn around, it's one thing after another, right? If you take that same situation, that same opposition, that same problem, and you say, okay, God, what are you doing in me, through me, and for me? Mm-hmm. If you look at it like that, because he said all things work together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose, right? He says that he has to prune us, right? He has to prune us, right? And then what are you doing in me, through me, and for me? We overcome by the blood of our testimony. I'm taking y'all Bible tonight, but I use these same analogies in the business, in the business sector. But we have to understand that what is going on, he always is going to work it out for us. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be a blessing. It has to be. It has to be a blessing in this for me, right? There may be something that I need to be pruned from that's keeping me from the blessing. So that's what he's doing in me, because there are some things in me that cannot go with me. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then what is he doing through me? Because everything that I do, there are people connected to my destiny. There are people connected to my destiny. And so if I'm stuck, the people that are connected to me, they're stuck too. So I got to go through this. I've got to get this stuff out of me. I need to go through this process. We talk about it often, the process. Everybody doesn't want it because it doesn't feel good.
Right.
It doesn't feel good. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, what is going on? And when I was looking at my birthday trip, there were so many different things that were going on that were inconvenient. There were fears I had to face, even celebrating my birthday just recently. But when I got back home, there were blessings after blessings after blessings awaiting me. Mm-hmm. And so it was just evident. And like the revelation was that you chose to keep going. Your attitude, like you got frustrated, but you turned that frustration into fuel. And you say, you know what? I'm afraid right now, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. I'm going to do it anyway. Right. I feel frustrated, but I'm going to go anyways. Mm-hmm. And literally from the time I got to my home, I had blessings. There were people sending me stuff, doing stuff for me. My birthday was on the 22nd. I was still getting gifts all the way up to yesterday. I was still getting birthday gifts.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And you get what I'm saying? So that's when we talk about
Happy birthday.
Thank you. There's something on the other side that awaits us, and we just have to refuse not to sit in the struggle. Amen. Don't sit in the storm, soar through it.
And let's see what Jessica says, I'm so glad I randomly click on this live today. I never do. Dr. Dean, I needed to hear your story, and most importantly, your words for my own healing. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. That was sweet.
You're welcome, Jessica.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. All right, Doctor. Tell everybody. I think I know I mentioned it before, but I thank you so much for sharing your story, the larger story, and then dropping the wisdom that you gave us all throughout. I tried to post it, as you was going, but I loved every bit of it. I think I can pick out, and even Casey saying she needs to hear all of it.
Awesome.
Like you dropped some bangers. This is my favorite one. If somebody else got a favorite, I'll put it up there. But that's my favorite one. I'm not waiting for the opportunity because I'm prepared. I create opportunities. So I love that one. And then Doc, just tell everybody how to find you on all social media platforms or all that good stuff.
So you can find me on all social media platforms at Dr. Shamika Dean on Instagram or at Shamika Dean on all other platforms. My website is shamikadean.com. So I keep it simple because I want the people to be able to find me.
Yeah, and your brand is on point. If
Thank you.
everything's good, the branding is on point. I just want to show the media. I wish I could pop the media kit up here so everybody can see how it looks.
Yeah.
But the brand is on point. We thank you so much, Doc. I appreciate you coming to share your story.
I think I can share the media kit. Hold on.
You can share the link to it?
I can pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we could check it out because if you know how to do it, that would be amazing. Because if I do it, the whole live be clicked off.
I told you, I'm listen, I try to stay prepared. Like stay prepared so you won't have to be prepared, right? So let's see, Chrome. Yep, so that's the media kit.
How'd you do
Can y'all
that?
see that? It's a share screen button, and you just do Chrome tab if you're pulling it up on the website, or if it is on your computer, then you share that particular screen on the computer.
Yeah, I try that. It doesn't work, but maybe you can give me a tutorial another. But that's dope. See, everybody, this is what she has. So when it's time to well, you can talk about it when people connect with you for opportunities, you send them this.
Yes. Yes. So that way I don't have to explain, what I do or those areas, of expertise, because it's just makes it simple for them to just be able to get that quick preview. It's a commercial.
Yeah. A commercial. That's right. I love that. I love that. All right. So we know how to find you. We know where to connect with you at. You gave all social media, but I'm telling you, connect with her on Instagram because them videos are hilarious. And I'm going to still be on there watching you. I'm going to do some reels too one day. That's the plan.
All right.
But thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining. Now, next week's guest, we are going to have, we've seen her before in different spaces. We're going to have my friend Siobhan on here, and Siobhan's going to be telling her story. She is, and you hear her accent. I always say like she sounds like a female Master P. Like she got that strong New Orleans accent, but she's gonna be on here sharing her story of. We all remember Hurricane Katrina, so that's where Siobhan was born, where she was raised. But she's gonna tell the story about when the hurricane was coming and how her and her family have dealt with it at that time and then since. So again, we're all about storytelling and we're all about shared experiences. So connect with us next week. Siobhan's going to be on here. You all have a blessed day. And Doc, if you can stay on for a second, I'm just going to chat with you. All right. Everybody be blessed.